Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's a new year, same us. Welcome back to ImmaLetYouFinish. It's episode 77.
77. 77.
A show where we promise not to confuse Jason Derulo with anyone because we wouldn't even have noticed that he was there. Happy New Year, kids.
I mean, the internet can be a really fucking stupid thing, but when you get headlines like Jason Derulo punches someone for somebody claiming he was Usher, and it's like there's so many things going on in that headline, and all of them are wrong.
It's just like,
yeah. That's our next versus Jason Derulo versus Usher.
Except Usher he'd be like, no, sweet, you're gonna have to get me somebody a little more elevated than that, Eddie.
Really? Having a hit in Malta doesn't count as a hit.
And I'm looking at Jason Derulo like, I mean, when people one, it's okay. I get it. People want to call you another name. That's fucked up and stupid. But there's worse things you could be called other than Usher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anyway, how you doing? How was your holiday?
I'm good. Saw the family for the first time in a couple of years because of the pandemic. The family. I love my family. So the time apart was crazy, but filled up seeing them. So I feel good. Came back to a hellstorm in New York. It's like a germ bomb went off. It wasn't that Richmond, I guess it's kind of creeping down in parts of Virginia and toward Richmond now. But I got back to New York and everyone here was sick. It was just kind of nuts.
Well,
so
Richmond, then again, you came back in time because you'd be stranded on I-95 right now.
I mean, that part.
I mean, they can only have so much at one time. You can't have an apocalyptic blizzard and an apocalyptic disease.
Fred's sister just got on. She just got home, I believe, either sometime very late last night, but she got on the train the day before that at noon. So she was stuck for like over a day on an Amtrak train in a snowstorm.
Yuck.
Yeah, horrible.
Yuck. My holiday was like whatever. Sadly, I wasn't able to go to the wife's house, which I usually do for New Year's, where we basically just see if we can stay up long enough. And we don't even care anymore. That's the best part. We just go, fuck it. It's not like anything's gonna happen.
Right.
And it's not like tomorrow's gonna be any better. It's not like we wake up and like, oh, by the way, here's your Publishers Clearinghouse money.
Right. Right.
Nothing.
I know. I was home too. I didn't even have the TV on, so all of the stuff that happened on the TV,
but
I didn't even know.
Sadly, there was a COVID-related containment. So better safe than sorry. Blah blah blah.
Right.
It's fine. Today was the first time I actually wrote 2022. I had to write something out. I went, all right.
Nice. It is.
Easy,
It's
easy to remember.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just start off like we always like to do with a depressing note, just completely. No, but all joking aside, we lost several important entertainment figures over the last couple of days. We just recently lost Jesse from the great R&B hip hop group from Staten Island, Force MDs. I mean, pioneering group. Young man passed away. A lot of my friends are posting about it because he had connections to New York City. So rest in peace to him. Force MDs, an essential. Check them out. Their stuff is available on Tommy Boy and on Spotify. They're wonderful. Max Julian, who was an really accomplished stage and television and movie actor, but who is best known by a very unfortunate terminology, but one that's used because called blaxploitation. He was the Mac, not Mark Morrison. Mark Morrison was not the Mac. He was the Mac. Great actor, died at 88. Yeah, I mean, not a household name in a lot of household names, but a household name in a lot of households,
Right.
And
And a lot of other movies and
Yeah.
music videos, like the
Yeah,
Mac.
no, and
the
one
image
of
of the
those
Mac
guys.
was like a seminal image that just.
Oh yeah, and you
Yeah.
were saying that he directed or produced Cleopatra Jones.
Yeah, he was a producer on the Cleopatra Jones movies.
Yeah, so smart in front of and behind the camera, and then of course, I guess the real sad, but yet we are so lucky to have had her for 99 years. Betty White passed away. I mean, if I even have to explain who Betty White is, then we don't want to know you. Everything. She is television. She is television.
To me, I just can always go back and watch her playing on the Carol Burnett's show. Eunice's sister Ellen, the one who married the right guy and had money and that the mother was always proud of, and it just drove Eunice crazy. Just comic gold.
Yeah, comic gold. Sue and Niven, great characters. The Rose, all of them. Just she was the oldest person to host, remains the oldest person to host SNL. And if you want to have and they have been replaying it, but Jay-Z dedicates Forever Young. He was the artist to the most incredible Betty White. So tip of the hat to the most incredible Betty White. And nobody didn't like Betty White, It was great. All right. So speaking of television, Insecure, which you and I are huge fans of, wrapped up season finale last week, and great documentary on HBO as well about the show itself. And I have to say, I loved the show. I loved everything about it. I thought it showed it was a love letter to women, to Black relationships, to Black just to having a dream, friendship, everything. I mean, these shows, as they always say, the real love story is the love story between Molly and Issa. I mean, that was the love story.
Absolutely.
But spoiler alert, she does end up back with Lawrence. But
I was really happy
that
I was happy that Molly found that it was written that Molly because because we watched her through the whole series, just be almost her own worst enemy in a way when it came to men and the men that she chose and how she was in a relationship. But then when she found the way it was written with Tori and the character who hated her,
right?
And that was the one that she could finally be her true, authentic self with. I'm a romantic in that way that I like that.
Well, newsflash, most men who hate the women that they work with and find them overbearing usually don't turn around and love them, but it's television. And he changed. He was a real dick in the beginning.
But let me just say this. I have had friends who are couples, both straight and gay, who started out not liking each other, like in situations where they did not like each other. And just time and life shit happens and people come around to each other and you see somebody differently.
Yeah, I just thought I was very happy. I had no dog in the show. I like Nathan. I'm weird like that, but I understood why. If the story is about the love affair between Molly and Issa and the soulmate, then it has to end up with a soulmate. But it was a great show. Yeah. I think history will show how influential. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens now. Issa Rae's going to be working. I just read on an adaptation of an Octavia Butler book.
Yeah, listen, she's got a big deal.
She's a smart woman.
She's a very smart woman.
Very smart.
And she put a lot of Black people's work behind the scenes in the jobs that we don't see, the really important jobs in the writer's room, behind the camera,
the drivers,
the showrunners, just really important jobs in the industry that, the ones that really people can grow and have true careers that don't get the opportunity to have experience sometimes to get into bigger jobs in the $100 million movies and all of those things.
Right.
So putting people in those kind of positions is really good.
Yeah, get that IATSE card and that Teamsters card. That'll do you a lot more good at the end than fame. But I really recommend, along with, catching up if you haven't watched it or watching the finale. I'm sure most people have watched it. I really recommend the documentary. One of our fans of the show, wrote about the doc, and it's worth it. It's an hour, and it just gives a really interesting insight as to the importance of the show, and it's great. So I'm happy with it. I'm going to miss it on Sunday night.
Yeah, it was a good Sunday. It's a good Sunday night watch. I was literally at my mom's house on the couch in front of the fireplace, just watching it, being like, "This is great." Can I just say what else happened over the holidays? Evidently, Adele tickets went on sale and sold out. People sold their kidneys for these tickets, and
I could use a kidney.
And let me just say this that I find really kind of nuts. I think people should charge whatever they want for concerts. But when I saw that the balcony seats started at $600, it's like, Miss Thing. Oh, yes.
No.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like, that's insane. That's insanity.
I'm like, no. No. And now they're all the ones that are on the resale market. I've seen tickets on the resale market for $59,000.
Well, people are idiots.
$40,000. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
They're idiots. You know what I mean? You can't control stupidity. You're an idiot.
I love Adele, but no.
No, I don't love it. I don't love anybody $49,000 worth. No, not at all. No, there's nobody I would. Well, I mean, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah.
Let him. Whatever. At least you don't have to worry about her lip syncing during the shows. All right. Well, you wanted to talk. I can't believe you're still watching it just like that.
Well, I told you I was going to hate watch this motherfucker.
I think that's the only way to watch it.
Oh, no. I told you I'm going to hate watch it because it has everything. Non-binary, could be trans storyline. We can't tell. It's one or the other. We have
with Rose and Rock.
Yeah, we have awkwardness around Black people.
Awkwardness around South Asian people.
Yes. Now there's maybe Miranda discovering she might be a lesbian because she's not happy. And this show has everything. And it's
alcoholism.
All a fucking mess. Well, you haven't been watching. So this week.
No, I did watch it.
Did you watch last week? See, that's what I'm saying. So to me, I'm like, okay, y'all have ticked every fucking box you can find. Literally. And then the weird passive aggressive Samantha shit that keeps coming through is all that is a little weird. It's like she's just not that into you. Stop mentioning her. Look, I am hate watching it as well. The things that were ridiculous about the show in the first place are continue to be ridiculous. I'm sorry. These women go out to concerts and they're wearing, come on, they don't have jeans. Nobody has a pair of jeans. This is fucking New York City. Even celebrity, come on, debutantes. That's one of the things we love about New York. It's like, come on, nobody has a pair of Chucks. Nobody come on. True. When she was going out to get coffee and she had
I'm like, come on. Yeah, who dresses like that to go to the
I was
bodega?
like, everybody, listen.
No, so it's ridiculous like that. There is obviously ridiculous. Carrie is just being very, very cunty this time. I mean, the thing to me, the whole thing about as a mother of a son who used to live in his house, let me tell you something. That shit these are minors having sex.
As someone who was a son, people would sneak fuck in the house. Nobody was blowing backs out in the house.
Nobody was ordering lube on their mother's Amazon
their mother
account.
To hear their bed ramming against the wall. That's just...
No, it's ridiculous. So that's ridiculous. I find there's a lot of things. I mean, the whole idea, and she's a great actress. She's doing a great job, but the whole Che character is just ridiculous. She is Carrie's boss, and she's sleeping with her best friend in her house. This is all just ridiculous. Okay, and this is the one thing that we can. I don't wear high heels for many reasons. First off, I'm just terrible at walking, and second, I had the height. I need hip surgery because of a congenital defect. No, bitch, you're walking around New York City in 5-inch heels. That's why you need knee surgery. Give me a fucking,
But her dress was fabulous at the end of that last episode. That's what I will say. That Missoni number was hot. I'm like, ooh, okay. This is where the queen comes out. I'm like,
the only way to watch it is hate watch it. You just sort of watch it and then you're like, this is ridiculous.
It's so cringy. It's cringe. Very cringe. All of the scenes with Charlotte just make me cringe.
There's been no character development with her at all because it's like
it's like you're still trying, like all of these years later, and you're still some thirsty Upper East Side lady. It's very weird. It's very, 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 very
weird. Well, yeah, I don't. Yeah. All right. Thinking of things we don't care about. Golden Globes are on this Sunday. All right.
Okay.
Next.
So Nas dropped a surprise album, and you are the Nas queen on here. So
right
let's
now,
talk
I am
about
like
it.
I am Mrs. Made You Look right here. Yeah. No. So
That's my song. Can I just tell you?
No, that's a great fucking
I
song.
went to see him in concert. He played with Mary J. Blige, and I was invited to that tour.
Oh yeah, that tour. Yeah.
He was fun. He did everything, and I am not the hip hop person. Really, it's not my shit. I sang, I rapped, I danced so fucking hard at that Nas show. I was at Columbia for a bunch of his albums.
Right.
But then I forgot just how many hits there were.
Right.
It was like hit after hit after hit after hit. And just his lyrics, and he sounded great. Because remember in the beginning, people used to always rag that he couldn't perform early on in his career.
That's what I'd always heard, that he wasn't a good live
But
performer.
he's really gotten much, much better.
Well, I'm saying it's funny you say hit after hit, because what I think is interesting about this record, and I was talking to my son about it in that our mother-son bonding session. He's not, when you think of Nas, you think of albums, right?
Yeah.
And he has had, Made You Look and Got Yourself a Gun and New York State of Mind, but he's not like the radio banger. You don't hear him coming out of the car kind of guy.
Right.
And even though he's worked with some of the best, he's worked with some of the best. They're not necessarily hits on this record, but production wise, it is just so good. And he's been working with Hit Boy, no pun intended, on the last record, King's Disease, 2 albums in 1 year. That's pretty freaking impressive. And this just feels like, well, there are references in it that are very current. There's a mention of Jacqueline, the death of Jacqueline Avon. So this was clearly done and put out, Listen, and it just feels really urgent. It feels really topical. We always talk about how we love a short record. We like a record with one producer. When you're that good a lyricist,
I love a one producer. One producer album to me gives a consistency.
It's consistent.
You can
tell the story, and without getting, and you don't get all. It's like it's one producer, so you can enjoy the cohesiveness of the
sonically it just comes together better.
You're not jumping around,
and when I say hits, because to me he did have a lot of. I just think about all of the Nas videos I worked. I was in video promotion of Black music and then video promotion at Columbia, and just all of those videos were huge. They were #1 videos across. Just hit after hit. People loved him. And then I used to service a lot of the clubs and the local shows too. And he was just, a new Nas video was a big deal. And those songs are they still sound great, Yeah,
no, they do. And I just, like I said, I love to see that he's still going at past what's supposed to be an expiration date. It's Hit Boy. Only minimal guest stars, and one track is Guru. I'm not sorry, Guru. That's horrible.
A$AP Rocky.
Premier and A$AP Rocky, and I live and die for Premier. So the album's called Magic, 9 tracks, no song over 3.5 minutes. It's great, and it's really good just to have this. I mean, is it going to blow up on the streets? No, it's not. But who cares? Hip hop is not just for the 14-year-olds. It's
absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like,
and they
we can listen to it too.
Absolutely. And the people, and this is why I love that folks like him are still making albums and not trying to pander to what that trend is on the street. He's being Nas, right? And he's doing what he does best. He's putting out the music that he wants to put out, saying what he has to say, and still is treated importantly, and it's respected in hip hop, and that's really important. I think there's places for the young guys. I love it, and I love that they have their sound. I like some of it. Some of it I don't. I think Snoop said it best when he was like, my issue is a lot of them sound like each other. And being like with Nas, you hear him, you know it's him.
Nas.
You hear De La, you know it's him. Fuck, you hear LL, you know it's him. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I don't have to Shazam to figure out which Lil or whatever this is,
Well, that's a difference between trying to make an album as opposed to trying to make a bunch of singles.
Right.
And I think if you're trying to make a bunch of singles, and that's a whole nother, that's the Spotifyization,
absolutely.
Apple Music. If you're trying to make a bunch of bangers, then it doesn't matter.
But there's hope, right? Because it's like Vince Staples that I talk about all the time. See, I really like him. And I like that he makes focused projects. And I think his last album was his most focused yet. You know what I mean?
One producer.
Yeah.
One producer.
And it really makes a difference. And lyrics fucking matter. And I like that a lot of stuff is really sexual. And you know me, I'm not a prude. I don't care about that. But I'm like, if everybody is talking about that, we need some of y'all that actually saying some real shit.
Yeah. Well, you can talk about sex without it being like suck my dick over and over again, you know? It's a great record. It's called Magic. It's on his Mass Appeal / whoever he's distributed by but I like it. It was very happy. It made me happy. I think I've told you this, you know, as an old white girl, I always am like, oh, am I really qualified to be culturally, you know? And I put this record on and I was like bopping around the house. I was a happy girl. Sorting my sock drawer and dancing.
Like hip hop is all it's everybody. It's a feeling. It's where you're from. It's a community. And the one thing you can absolutely say is you've been writing about it, reviewing it, and being in that community for a really long time. So yes, you absolutely can put that shit on and know the references to all of it and the catalog and this one and the producer, you know, and the writers.
It's a really, really, so I highly recommend it. What have you been listening to let's talk about the Janet documentary. I'm so sorry.
No,
I know that
we can talk about it all. You know what? Listen,
I know you can mark your calendar for that.
Let me just tell you something. We can talk about it more in depth once it first airs, but everybody in my life knows that Madonna has been my number one girl since Madonna came out. But it's a weird thing because Janet Jackson is also my number one girl, and so is Grace Jones. Like, I love them all for very different reasons. Janet Jackson is an icon who they have tried to pull down, who is always, because of her fans, risen from the ashes. And I cannot wait for her to finally tell her own story, because I do think it's interesting when other people try to tell your story, but you know, that's really subjective. She's going to tell it herself. You know that she's really private, and Janet's not a liar, right? So what she's going to tell, we know Janet's going to tell us the truth. Right. And I'm ready to hear it. I'm glad. It's interesting to think now that you see that she'd heard all of those rumors, like that she supposedly had the hidden baby and all of that. So I want to hear about it all. Like the first marriage. Do
you know who directed it? Is it a director of note or?
I believe it is. Hold on, I'll look it up. But
I think it's going to be interesting too. I think it's, you know, she's someone, she has that wonderful balance between people being curious about her, but she's not oversaturated.
Right.
And so there's always someone we have never known everything about her, even though she has been in our consciousness forever. Right. Since she was 5 years old, basically. So I think it's gonna. I think it'll be good. I definitely will definitely catch it, and it's sort of a bookend to the Times documentary, New York Times documentary, which she did not participate in, but
disowned it and was very like.
Yeah, but you know what? I think she came off pretty. I think it was very sympathetic to her, that documentary, in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't think it was insulting, right? But it wasn't her. It wasn't her decision to do it. Did you find who directed it?
I found all of the shit on here. I can't find it.
You know what? We'll talk about it. It's airing January 28th on Lifetime. So we can talk about it.
It's a two-parter, and I'm excited for it.
Oh, good. Me too. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
She's got a lot of life. So, you know, it's going to be really interesting to hear what she has to say.
All right. So what did you listen to during the hiatus?
A lot of 90s R&B groups that people don't talk about anymore. The Girls, who were put together by I'll Be Sure, and they had one album and two singles, If It's Games You're Playing and Jam Jam If You Can. I fucking love that album. Nobody ever talks about them because they were one album and done. But out of The Girls came Terry and Monica, who signed to Epic, and they released two albums on Epic, Sister and Sugar. Sister, the first album, was the more successful of the two, and they had a single called Aha, which I love. And then, the second album, Sugar. So I've been kind of doing that. Ex-Girlfriend, Why Can't You Come Home? The Stacey Francis was in. Stacey Francis is a singer who I then came back and maybe went on American Idol and different stuff, and she was in that. And they had a big single called Why Can't You Come Home? Just really random shit. And Taylor Swift's Reputation, for some odd reason, I'm not the hugest Taylor Swift fan, but I've revisited that album and probably actually listened to it for the first time, really, and have been really sort of awestruck at paying attention just to, the structure of her songs, the writing, the production, and it's really top notch on that album. And it's, to me, I like a grown Taylor Swift moment more than, like, the younger Taylor Swift is a great songwriter, but that wasn't really my bag. But I'm really enjoying the writing. So I'm starting to kind of go through her later albums and these re-records and just listening to her, just paying attention to the production, her writing, and how these songs are structured together. And she really is talented. I always appreciated her as a businessman, a person, but now I'm really appreciating the artist of Taylor Swift.
What you're liking is when she started working with Max Martin. I mean, those are the pop guys. I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
right.
this is when she started shifting from, like, the alt-right pinup girl into, like, I think I want to make pop music, Right. And I think even though she has a country-ish flavoring and twang to her voice, I think she's ultimately a better pop star.
Absolutely.
Except that she can't dance.
Yeah.
She's the most gawky. She makes Dua Lipa look like Janet Jackson.
But I got to tell you, those shows look like spectacular spectacles. And I almost went to see her. Like, we were going to go. I was in Baton Rouge, and I was going to go. A friend of mine's, he was invited. We got invited to the suite for the 1989 tour, but he was filming a show and it went into overtime that day, so we didn't get to go to the show. But now that I've looked at that, I'm like, if I have an opportunity to see her, I might have to pop my head into a show and see Taylor Swift and see what it's about.
You don't have to worry about inviting me because I could care less. She looks like she would be.
I'm telling you, it's
so
like,
boring.
No, it feels like hell is frozen over, because that's something I never could think of myself saying. I'm kind of rocking with these later Taylor Swift moments, but I like her adult music. I'm starting to realize,
she's also a much more likable person as an adult. She's not being kind of bitchy, which she kind of was, and attacking other women.
And that fucking "Are You Ready For It" is hot though. Like, are you ready for it?
See, I got to tell you something, and this is not to be mean. Taylor Swift, to me, there is nothing remotely sexual about that woman.
No,
and I know she has sex.
Yeah.
I know she's having sex. I mean, I don't know it. I'm not in the room with her, but I'm going to assume that she has sex. But she is the most, like, I'm just like, and I am not saying that women have to be sexual. I'm not saying, but she's just, I look at her like, what is this word lover? You don't even know what that means. But
that's so shady.
No, it's not. You know what I mean? There are just certain people who put out a sexual energy, whether you like them.
Yes.
Listen,
yes.
I mean, I'm not, I go hot and cold.
That doesn't mean they don't have it. Some people just have that sexuality and sexual energy just comes out of them.
I think it's because she can't dance. I think that's what it is. She can't move. Courtney, people who can't dance. People who can't dance can't. You know this.
But I've seen her. She does her white girl dance. It's the head.
I'm a white girl, and I would never. The worst part of every award show for me, bless her heart, was when Taylor Smith
started trying to dance
in front of Kendrick Lamar.
No.
And I'm like, you can't dance.
No, remember when Whitney Houston used to try to dance?
Oh,
and it would be like, like her, and I went to see Alicia Keys and
come on,
she had choreography, and I was like, why do you keep trying to dance? You cannot dance.
Not for nothing. And I love her, but Mary kind of falls into that category.
Well, Mary has her own dance
style,
right?
Yes.
That only she can do. So we love her for that
true.
Because it's not a classical thing. She's giving you the Mary. It's a New York.
She's
pop
dancing
swagger.
like she's at the party and nobody's paying attention.
And we're all like, we're here for it, which is why whenever
don't anybody else.
Don't anybody else do it at all.
All right. Well, I was not listening to anybody you could dance to.
Oh.
No, I mean, I went back and listened to Sons of Soul, Tony, one of my all-time favorite groups.
I just pulled their music out recently, so that's funny that you're on that vibe.
They opened up for Janet Jackson and were asked to leave the tour. I wonder why. And another show I will tell you about how I helped break up Tony.
Okay.
I will take it to my grave. In fact, I may be the only person who thinks that, but that's all that matters. In case you guys haven't noticed, notice actual factual shit doesn't play into my ability to tell a story. I have been listening to, because end of the year list, I'm always like, who cares? But certain people's taste, I really do. So I went back and listened to the Tyler, the Creator, Call Me If You Get Lost. He's somebody that I never paid attention to because I thought he was such a homophobe and such a sexist pig. Turns out he's gay, but that he can work that out with his therapist in terms of why he was so homophobic. But Igor was a great record. And this is a really interesting, to call it a rap record doesn't do it justice, a really interesting record. We both love Little Sims. Sometimes I might be an introvert. British,
yeah, she's great.
Rhyme artist who's getting some play in this country. I love grime. I love UK. I mean, to me, it's like I said, joking around. If I'm not going to understand what a rapper's saying, I want to really not understand what a rapper's saying. And I do understand some of the references because I watch tons of British television, so I do pick up some of the slang.
Have you been listening to all of her albums?
No, I just listened to the first. I'm going to go back, listen to the first, but I like her. I think she's just really interesting. And I feel like I may be totally wrong on this, but I feel like the women British rap artists are allowed to, they don't have to lean as much as bumping and grinding. They're allowed to be lyricists more.
I think that's a choice some of these girls are making, because like I think Remy Ma said it best, with like nobody wears, or was it MC Light said nobody wears pants anymore, right?
Right.
Like all of the female rappers are in like bodysuits and stuff. It's like we're not seeing that sort of, where there are some of the girls who are harder, and I think those ladies need to get some shine too, right? Because what we're seeing now is just the glamour girls.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like
because they're giving you really what's happening in the streets and you want to know what's happening. They're really these girls are giving you pop hits and gloss and
the British rappers are not that they aren't pop savvy, but they're giving you what's really happening in their streets and in their neighborhoods. These girls they're all loaded now and living. It's not that same thing. Yeah, I mean, as our friends Barney and Mark from Rock's Back Pages told me, if you want to know what's going on in South London, if you want to know what it's like to be a young person in London, you listen to grime. Yeah. And that's all there is. So but I just think it's a really good record. And I was listening to, speaking of English, someone who could only be English because her last name sounds like a Dickens character, Holly. I can't even read my own handwriting. Holly Humblestone. Mm. Yeah. See, you don't have to change your name anymore to become a star. Mm-hmm. And she has an EP called The Walls Are Too Thin. That's also the name of her first single. She won the Brit Award for Rising Star. Young woman, 22 years old. She is going to be the opening act for Olivia Rodrigo when she goes to, which is a coveted. That's a big slot. Yeah. And I like that it's two young women. I like that a lot. Really interesting. I think you would be surprised that I really like it. She sort of reminds me of Damien Rice without being that depressing. A little Beth Orton in the kind of
Beth Orton
combination of the folk and the synth and the poppy. It's a very well written songs. Very much a younger woman's perspective, but not in that frame of like you can't be older to get it. Just good. It's an EP, and Jules Holland, she did an acoustic version of The Walls. Let me put it this way. I put it on. I put the album on and I already had the single. I had it in my head.
Yeah.
So that says a lot.
I'll check her out.
There's too much in my head to begin with.
And if you guys in the US don't know who Jules Holland is, he's been on the air in the UK for a very long time.
Probably 20 years.
I think even more than that, because he's had various shows, but he's a musician and a talk show host. Check out the Mary J. Blige performance of Someone to Love You on Jules Holland.
It's spectacular.
It is fucking...
No, it's chilling.
It's him playing the piano, her singing, and it's just... it's just really, really, really stunning.
That's one of my favorite songs of hers. She didn't write it. It's a country song, actually, but it's great. And Jules Holland, I mean, you can find all this stuff on the interwebs. He's on the BBC. He's just great. Former keyboard player for Squeeze and session musician. He's just wonderful. Yeah. So 2022 is upon us, which means that everybody has to give their predictions. And here is what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to us never having to say, Why doesn't Rihanna put out new music?
Oh my God, right.
It's like, okay, like she'll do it when she wants to.
When she fucking wants to.
A watch pot never boils.
Hello.
She's making oodles and poodles of money, making fancy underwear.
And
she's
lip
got
gloss.
a hot boyfriend.
Mm.
She's living her life. She looks amazing. She's a national hero in her home country.
Mm-hmm.
If she wants to drop an album, she will. Stop sweating the girl. The end. But when she does drop an album, I'm going to be very
We're going to be all here for it.
All here for it, no matter what she does. Well, that's not true.
That's not true. I think at this point, right, listen, I don't have any expectation because it's been a very long time.
Very long.
But I do know this, because it's been a very long time, it better be good.
It better be good.
It better be good.
Yeah,
don't let this come out and be like, this is my experimental record when I decided to sing
unless it's a really good one. If she comes out and does something that's like off.
No, I would love Off the Chain, but sometimes the kids like come back and they come and it's a little too in their head. I would love it if she flipped it. She came back and it was a rock record. I would fucking live.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Would be great.
She
could do it too.
I could love. I'm just saying. When I say experimental, I mean don't go off the rails, but come back, surprise motherfuckers. Don't let it be what everybody thinks.
I think she is super. I think it's going to be, but I think that basically. We're here. If you're coming with a good music, we're here. But the weekend, I guess, is the first big drop of
he's this Friday.
So
I'm excited to see what it's going to be. I know we rag him a lot on the show, but he's one of the biggest stars in the world.
I know.
And he does make really great
he makes
tunes.
Great music.
And he really is making really perfect radio hits and pop tunes. So let's see what
he makes the kind of music that if you drove a car, I mean, we make fun of him and his stupid red suits and his coked out modelizing non-personality, but Blinding Lights, like you're not humming that all the time.
Starboy.
Come on. I mean, he makes great pop music. So this will be interesting because in some ways he does have a formula, but in the other ways he does flip it up a lot. Yes. I'd like to see him singing in a different timbre. I'm getting a little tired of the Michael Jackson falsetto thing. I'd like to see him drop the register a little bit. So we shall see. And wait, the Golden Globe. Yeah, we're not going to watch it, right? There's no TV show. We don't have to worry about watching it. I don't even care.
Like who? What movie? Right. I didn't even see that movie. What's the movie?
I know. What's a movie?
I did watch Don't Look Up. Did you watch Don't Look Up on Netflix? No,
there's too much hype. Is it? I know everybody says it's great.
I really liked it because it's really talking about how everything is today. Yeah, really, it's a big commentary on
I want to watch that, and I do want to watch. The Year of the Dog. Is that what it's called? The Year of the Gun, The Year of the Dog, the one Benedict Cumberbatch.
Year of something.
It's supposed to be very, very good. I do want to watch that, and I want to watch the new Elena Ferrante movie, the woman who wrote the I don't know. I want to watch it. I just have to get off my British cop shows.
Well, I want to watch season 796 of RuPaul's Drag Race, which starts Friday. Well, no, Law and Order is coming back, the original show.
I know.
And Sam is coming back as Jack McCoy.
Oh, good. Because he's terrible in the role. He's terrible. He's terrible unless he's like Jack. Oh, he's still going to be DA, right? No.
Well, yeah, he's the district attorney. He's Jack McCoy.
So he's going to leave Martin Sheen in that beach house and come back.
No, well, the thing is, I think he's going to probably do more than one show, maybe.
Yeah,
filming at different times.
I don't know. We'll it's not Law and Order unless it's Elliot and Olivia. Oh no, wrong show. Sorry. So who's going to be the cops?
They haven't said yet. They haven't said, but they have to come with new cops. They have.
No, they have to because at the end, none of the regular guys were. Lenny was dead. Obviously, Jesse Martin is whatever he's
Anthony.
doing.
It was the last two cops were Anthony Anderson and Jeremy Sisto were the last two, and they were good. They were really good.
I could stand looking at Jeremy Sisto.
Let me just say, if they came back, it was Bernard. If it was Bernard and fucking Lupo, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but with Anthony Anderson Blackish is done now.
Blackish is done.
Yeah, I could live with that.
Mm-hmm.
I could live with that. I mean, why not? As long as they don't bring back that horrible woman cop they had, who was the pinup model, who would like arrest people with her breasts hanging out. I'm like, no.
Everybody hated her.
It was horrible.
I felt like
she was just horrible. I mean, it's like, it was just ridiculous. And it's going to be LT is going to be there too. S.C. Patton Murkison is going to be back.
I don't know.
Because but
she's still on. She's on one of his Chicago shows. She's Chicago Hope or Chicago something or Chicago.
Right. Well, we
Chicago
have to
Pia Zadora.
We have to really. Chicago schools are on strike. Whatever. Yeah. All right. Do what you do, baby. Do what you do.
We don't need another Hero Thunderdome, but what we do need is for you to listen to us every week on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Every week.
There's over 70 music shows. It's amazing. You should check out all
and we met them at the Christmas party, and they're all really cool.
Story of a Song podcast. Like, so many great guys. Yeah, they're really great.
Mistress Carrie.
You know what I mean? Lots of really cool people. And you know what to do. Follow us on Facebook at ImmaLetYouFinish, one word. Follow us on Instagram at I'll Let You Finish NY. Follow us on Twitter at FinishImma. And remember to like, rate, subscribe, tell your friends, pass it on, and we will see you next week. Stay safe.
Hi, everybody. Stay safe. Stay safe.
Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sports book in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
I never thought about space in my cramped apartment, but in this house, all I see is empty space. The sofa and ottoman look like tiny islands in a sea of hardwood floors. I could get 2 ottomans in the living room, but then I'd need another sofa. I could tell people I'm into minimalism.
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided in service by affiliates and third-party insurers.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.